Arka, and then also Aditya, who is the CEO of FloShip. I'll let whoever wants to go first introduce yourself and kind of state what your company does.
Jane?
Uh, yeah, I can go first. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Cory, for having me today. Very excited. So, Jane here. I'm head of partnerships at Arka, and what we do is essentially to provide packaging solutions to CPG brands. So we do like branded boxes, polymailers, stuff like that. And we start with very low MOQs with orders as small as one item on some products. So yeah, that's what we do. Over to you, Aditya.
Hey everyone. I'm Aditya. Thanks, Cory, for inviting us. Uh, I represent FloShip, and FloShip specializes in cross-border logistics for e-commerce brands. What we do is we provide a one-stop shop ecosystem for e-commerce brands, crowdfunding brands to scale their products globally or ship their products globally, which includes basically warehousing, pick pack services, shipping, insurance, duties, taxes, IOR, MOR. So we basically act as a consolidator of all the services for a brand in terms of their logistics supply chain requirements.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Now, I'm going to go through interview questions. We're going to start with a basic question for both of you. Then I'll go company by company. We'll tie it all together, and then we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A for anybody that has questions. So to start, and either one of you can answer this one first, is you two sit at the opposite ends of the same journey. Why does packaging and fulfillment belong in the same conversation?
I can start on this. So packaging is okay. For shipping, packaging is one of the most critical component because if you are using a wrong packaging, your entire supply chain may break, your cost may go haywire, your planning may go haywire. So very simple. If I would place this, packaging plays an important role to make sure uh, one, the shipment is optimized, the cost is optimized, and the budgets are in control, and you do not ship air across. And second, obviously, the security of the product in terms of how it arrives to the end consumer and the opening experience.
Yeah, I mean like just to piggyback, definitely I think like we do have to think about packaging and fulfillment together as one because it affects each other as what Aditya mentioned. So you can design like a beautiful package, but if it's oversized, difficult to pack, or it doesn't protect the product properly, that really creates a lot of problem further down the fulfillment process. So on the other hand, even if your fulfillment is really efficient, if the package arrives like damaged or it just feels completely disconnected from the brand, the customer still has a very poor experience. So I think like both are really part of the same delivery journey, just at different touch point. And this is where fulfillment gets the product there and packaging determines how efficiently it travels and how the customer experience it when it arrives. Yeah.
Great. Great. Now we're going to move over to FloShip. So, Dia, I'm going to ask you a few questions regarding, buying signals and your process, and then we'll move over to you at Arca, Jane, okay? So, Aditya, first question for you is, at what point does cross-border fulfillment go from nice to have to we have to solve this?
Uh, as soon as your first order comes in, or as soon as you have designed that, okay, hey, I'm building an e-commerce product, I'm building a D2C product. First of all, your logistics comes in play. If your logistics is not sorted, again, it becomes a haywire at a later on stage. Two, if or for a running brand, okay, you have sorted out your product. Okay, if you have delayed your logistics planning and everything, okay, as soon as your first customer comes in, that's the last stage. It's kind of a stage one where you're designing your product because that's where you will decide the packaging. That's where you will understand your shipping cost. That's where you will understand how the goods are to be shipped, combinations, single units, multiple units, whatever it is. That's where actually the problem needs to be solved. But sometimes it gets delayed. You don't know the volume of orders, your things change, location changes, manufacture delays, a lot of problems comes in. Still, you have a chance where you know the volume, and again you reiterate, okay, what you have started at the first, that okay, this is my estimates, but now I have the volume of orders. Okay, what is the best way to ship it out? So that's where the two critical points where you need to solve your logistics problems beforehand. And once the goods are manufactured, once your consumer orders are placed, customer is expecting deliveries at the end of the day. So for a brand, pre-planning is a must to a certain extent.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, what are the most common and costly mistakes brands make when they first ship internationally?
Two, underestimation of landed costs. Basically picking up the wrong carrier, or basically not estimating different combination of the product or different packaging processes. So basically the biggest mistake that comes is shipping air, which is basically directly impacts the P&L of a brand. Two, okay, you have understood your product, you have built a product, but when it comes to actual consumer buyouts, you have not thought about the combinations, or you have not thought about the options, alternatives, or whatever the multiple packages or anything. When it comes to that, again, on ground, when the order comes in, again, it's a chaos. What is the packaging? And then if the warehouse uses a random packaging to ship it out, okay, why this cost? And lastly, understanding the HS code, understanding the classification, understanding the local compliances as well as the international compliances, understanding the last mile restrictions, or uh, duties, taxes, or typically IOR, MOR, or destination compliances, if any. So these are all main components when it comes to shipping cross border. So for a brand to ship cross border, the biggest mistakes happen. What we have seen is packaging, where either a wrong packaging is planned, wrong dimensions are planned, wrong HS code is used, classification, which basically impacts in wrong taxation directly. And third is basically sometimes wrong declaration of the product. Like one example I could say is, let's say you are shipping a product with a battery, but that product can be used to charge another product. If you are declaring that product as, okay, let's say a phone with a battery, and you classify as PI 967 and you ship it out, most of the time it will happen is, as soon as it reaches out the hub, it will be rejected. And then you have to bear the return cost, you have to bear the information. The product information is a must, because a phone with a battery and it is used to charge another piece, it is considered as a power bank, which is a hazardous material, and then declaration comes in play and everything. So three elements, I would summarize it: your product information, MSDS, product declaration, product description, HS code, classification because of duties and taxes, and third is your packaging.
Amazing. And then last one before we flip over the Janadia would be compliance. Um, like, oh no, I'm sorry. Landed cost first. What actually goes into it, and where do brands get surprised? So you already touched
Two
on this a little
elements,
bit.
two elements, your product description and the HS code. That is basically the factor which defines, or which is basically the input point for getting the landed cost. Landed cost consists of two elements, which is duties and taxes, duties, taxes, or any fee associated with it, like basically handling charges or anything at the custom level. So that combines as a landed cost element. So when you ship, if you are misdeclaring, again, as my previous element was, if you misdeclare, again, your product may be wrongly charged. Duties and taxes will be wrongly charged. So need to be prepared with the proper information on that piece. The second element is basically when you are moving in goods from any country to any country, sometimes duties are applicable, sometimes taxes. There are some other tariffs, like in right now the talk of the world tariffs or de minimis going off, or EU adding that $3 charge per item per HS code on a box. So again, how do you declare it? How do you pack it? How do you inform it? That's pretty much, if I summarize, landed costs only consists of duties and taxes. Your shipping costs, pick and pack, and all are part of the operating cost, but landed costs is one. So normally, what my recommendation for early stage brands would be, start using either a landed cost guarantee in the initial phase, understand the first few shipments, and then basically maybe if you are comfortable or you have seen a standard behavior, then start using it as a standard product. But if
Oh,
you're shipping to worldwide different countries, solutions for landed costs or duties and taxes calculators are pretty much recommended.
got it. And to build off of that, we were talking about compliance, like import of record and duties, that kind of scares some people off. What do you think the growing brand actually needs to worry about when it comes to the duties and the compliance? Where should they be scared and where should it, kind of be like a little bit less nervous about?
So any brand, okay, early stage brands still manageable, not a major issue. Uh, but typically sending into certain countries, yes, you need the tax IDs of the local representative like Korea, Japan, Thailand, Philippines. You need the tax IDs of the recipient to ship out the goods to. So if I leave aside, let's say majority, let's say US or Europe, if you're sending D2C cross border, to a certain extent, you are still viable till the time your volume is low. But as soon as your volume hits a critical mass, depending on your product volume or and the product type, volume of the product, shipping cost, as well as the taxes applicable for imports, that's where you need to get worried. A lot of times there are better solutions by using IOR, MOR, getting a B2B product to an local entity and then moving the goods domestically is much cheaper than moving cross-border sometimes. But sometimes cross-border is much cheaper than domestic shipping. Because if you take about when it comes to end-to-end cost, not only the landed cost, but end-to-end cost, which is starting from pick pack to shipping, duties and taxes, other allied services, everything combined. Then if you compare that, it again is a volume game, what I would say, when it comes to. Now, IOR and MOR is critical when you're shipping volumes to any country. For a brand to be compliant with a country regulation, a destination country regulation, IOR and MOR are the best way to do that because you are making sure the local entity is paying all the required taxes for the government as applicable to your brand. So if I put in a scenario basis, let's say you are shipping 100 shipments to US in a month. Okay, this may not be a requirement, but as soon as you're shipping, let's say 5,000 units or 2,000 units to a month, it basically total cumulative product value, what you're shipping in, it may be very well relevant in that case. Because IOR, MOR not only brings in value of compliance, but also sometimes brings in the value of better calculation of duties and taxes.
That's great, and that kind of summarizes, what you guys are going to help do, help these brands ship internationally, fulfillment, and cut costs where they can, and also stay compliant. So obviously, you and your team are expert, and anybody on the call or running a brand that's shipping internationally should be talking to you guys. Um, so tying this directly into, what Jane and the Arka team are doing, we're going to move over to packaging part of things. So Jane, the first question I have for you is a lot of early brands treat packaging as an afterthought, or just as a cost cut. What are they missing in that picture?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we get that a lot from our customers. So I think one of the biggest mistake is really just viewing packaging purely as a cost per box. But the thing is that when it comes to packaging, it actually does three jobs at once. So I think Aditya would agree on this, but it protects the product, so it affects, like what you pay to ship it, and it is also often the first physical interaction that a customer has with your brand. So for an e-commerce brand, you don't have a beautiful retail store, you don't have like a salesperson to create that sort of experience in person. So when the package arrives at your customer's door, it is essentially your storefront. So that's why we really emphasize on, like the branding, making it a good experience, and really having a thought about what you put into your packaging, or how do you package up like your products. But I think at the end of the day, right, something to remember is that that doesn't mean that you need an expensive box. It just means that you need to be very intentional about it. So again, when it comes to shipping, if saving 30 cents on packaging like causes more damaged products, a worse unboxing experience, or a package that costs more to ship because it is oversized, then you have not really saved that 30 cents. So the goal here is really to find the kind of packaging that offers the best total economics and not just simply the cheapest option. So I guess, like something to really remember about this point is just protection, shipping, brand, and the cheapest box is not necessarily the cheapest solution. And packaging would matter even more if you're a subscription company in beauty, food, wellness, because presentation does contribute to the perceived value of your company as well as your products.
I can add one more small element to this is compliance again. Like if you're shipping a packaging to EU, it need to be a certain compliant product. Otherwise, the brand gets penalized.
Yeah.
And I love what you said there. It's their first interaction, their first impression with the brand, and I think that's super important. And that's kind
Yeah.
of, where I'm going with the next question that I have for you is custom versus stock packaging.
Mhm.
When does it make sense for a growing brand to invest in custom, and how do you guys help keep it affordable for them?
Yeah. So I think for a lot of brands, right? Like especially because we work with a lot of independent brands as well, they would immediately come to us. They would say, hey, like do I need to go like fully customized? Like what's the MOQ? Like I want to really invest in a premium packaging system. But the truth is that as a new brand, or if you're growing, you don't need to jump immediately from a plain shipping box to a fully customized premium packages, right? Because there is like a progression. There is a progression. So when you're still validating the product and shipping relatively like low volume, I think plain packaging can still make a lot of sense. You can add branded elements like stickers, tape, or inserts to create some brand experience without committing to a large packaging run. So once you have a predictable order volume, you understand your product dimensions, you know how customers are responding to your product, that's where custom packaging starts to make a lot more sense. And this is also where you can optimize the size around the product, control the entire unboxing experience, and take advantage of better unit pricing as your volume increases. So, like the simple takeaway point here is start simple, test, and then scale. And custom packaging would make a lot of sense when demands becomes predictable enough that branding and packaging optimization matter. Yeah.
That's very well said and makes a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now how does the packaging choices affect shipping itself? So it's kind of tying you both in together, like things like dimension weight, damage rate, returns, especially cross-border.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like Aditya would have like some
Yeah,
points
this
to
one's
add
kind
here
of
as
for
well.
both of you.
Yeah, 100%. So I think like from Arka's perspective, one of the biggest like misconception that we hear a lot from customers is that shipping cost is only about how heavy the product is. But I believe that carriers like FloShip, like you guys also care about how much space it takes up. So if you're shipping like a relatively small product inside a huge box, but it's filled with a lot of void fill, you may be paying to ship all of that empty space as well. So the right sizing actually really matters. So then you have protection, like going too far in the other direction and removing necessary protection can also increase damage. And then again, once a product is damaged, you have to pay for the packaging. You may also be paying for the replacement product, customer service time, and even a refund. So I think when it comes to cross-border, it magnifies all these issues a lot more because the package is going to be traveling further, and it also go through more touch point and handling points before reaching the customer. So I think for us, like the recommendation is that if you want to choose a packaging, a good packaging design is really about finding the balance between using enough material to protect the product, but at the same time avoiding unnecessary increases when it comes to the package size and shipping costs. So it's really about, like finding the right size, and that creates like better economics. But I mean, Aditya, feel free to weigh in as well with your perspective.
Yeah, definitely, Jane. So volumetric weight is the one of the biggest element which packaging impacts. So lot of most of the time we see air being shipped when you order some small box, small parcel coming in a whole big package, and unnecessary you are paying for it. But at the end of the consumer is paying for it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look at it, one more element, if you look at it, if it's when a packaging is not strong enough or a packaging is not good, once the product reaches the end consumer, let's say in a damaged condition, the brand is not losing not only that one unit, the cost of shipping, the cost of packaging, the cost of fulfillment, the cost of end-to-end delivery, but also he's paying the double the amount because he'll be shipping either the other piece or he's losing a customer. So there is a whole take, like if you can save by paying that 5-7 cents extra on the packaging, but
Mm-hmm.
you can save a lot more money overall on the experience, on the uh, proper delivery of your goods, and safety of your goods when it arrives. And then, if, like for example, if your packaging is not strong, insurance will not be applicable. So there are a lot of other elements that comes into play as well.
Yeah, and that's why it's
Yeah.
awesome having you guys on this call because sometimes the cheapest option is gonna end up costing you a lot more in the long run because of these
Mm-hmm.
factors that you guys are mentioning. All right, awesome. Appreciate those answers. Now, sustainability obviously matters to CPG shoppers, but budgets are tight. How do brands balance eco-friendly materials with cost?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting question, and it's also something that I feel like there is a lot of misconception. So I think sometimes when we talk to again brands and founders, a lot of them feel like sustainability is just about choosing the most expensive, environmentally friendly material available, but that is not necessarily the best approach. I think what brands should really be thinking about, and the question that they should be asking, is how much packaging do we really need? So again, right sizing the packaged, eliminating unnecessary inserts, reducing excess material can actually improve sustainability and potentially reduce costs at the same time. So another thing that brands can look at is actually material choices. So for instance, here at Arka, we have options such as FSC certified, recyclable, and like different materials depending on the packaging type that the brand is looking for. And they also need to consider, like the entire packaging system rather than just a single element in isolation. So my advice to an early brand would really be about prioritizing the changes that have the greatest impact without destroying your unit economics. And again, like with businesses, it's always about reiteration, and you can improve the packaging over time as the business scales. Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to keep in mind too, that not everything needs to be like so quick and overnight. As the business scales, you could
Mm-hmm.
become more eco-friendly and also
Yeah.
change your packaging to the growth of your brand, which is important to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
And then the last one I have for you, Jane, is
Mm-hmm.
MOQs intimidate small brands. How should they think about ordering packaging as they scale up? And we kind of just touched on it, but if you could just expand on it a little further.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say that I would tell founders not to chase the lowest possible unit cost too early. So it is true that buying a very large quantity will give you a better price per box than buying a small quantity. It's like a volume game. But if you only need 500 and you change your branding, your product dimensions, or your messaging 3 months later, then suddenly all these boxes become very expensive inventory sitting in a warehouse. And this is extremely common when you are early during the journey because things are always changing, just like any other businesses. So I think early on flexibility has a lot of value. Start with a quantity that actually match what you can reasonably forecast. From there, learn what works. And once the demand again becomes more predictable, you can always increase your packaging quantities and take advantage of the lower cost that comes with volume. And I think this is also one of the reasons why our founder, Philip, actually started Arka. And one of the USP that we have is that we focus a lot on low MOQs. So we don't want a brand or a growing brand to feel like they need to commit to a massive inventory. So with Arka, you can actually order with very low MOQ and really just test out to see how it works before scaling up. So the takeaway point is really do not optimize unit costs before you have predictable demand, because early on flexibility has a lot of value. Yeah.
Incredible. And I think, brands obviously are going to be growing fast, a lot of things changing, and working with
Mm-hmm.
companies like you and FloShip and Arka can help, with that flexibility and, really build something special. So I appreciate both of you answering those sets of questions. I'm going to move into a few fun facts about how Kickfurther ties into all this, and then we'll open this up to a little Q&A. So the first fun fact is, how are we going to fund all of this, right? And it's not just inventory. Kickfurther can actually fund up into 100% of the cost of your production costs. So, for example, that's more than just the production itself, and it can cover packaging, yes, such as what Arca is providing. So, for a client coming in that may need to fund a production run, we could fund some of those costs that are associated, not just the raw materials and the inventory that they're purchasing. So it's a whole like get it to the customer, and really try to take care of that whole package for them when getting their inventory delivered to them. Now, the second fun fact about Kickfurther in this whole process is it's actually a lot quicker than you would expect it to be and easier. Once your co-op goes live with the Kickfurther community, funding can happen quickly, with the median funding time being less than a day. It's non-dilutive, it's not a loan, and you don't repay until you start selling the products. So, for example, if you're working with a client and we happen to be working with FloShip, and they say manufacture their goods all the way out in China, we would fund those costs of goods to be manufactured and shipped over here, and the client actually wouldn't start paying until they start selling, whether that's D2C, retail, after those costs of goods land. So that's what we're trying to provide is that flexibility to be set up to the brand's payment schedules and while they're selling, and also help them get their goods paid for. And then the fun fact is the countdown is on. So factories across Asia shut down for a few weeks around Chinese New Year. So that's around February 6th. And production slows for weeks before that. Funding your inventory and packaging now is the difference between being stocked early in the season to being scrambling. So what I would say is with our process with Q4 coming up, as well as the Chinese New Year hitting early next year, is seeing what you could fund now and then pay later on is a great way to get ahead of, maybe some of the other brands and the other, folks trying to scale as well. Now, that's tying Kickfurther into both Arka and FloShip. I want to open it up to any attendees if they have any Q&A, if you have any questions for myself, Jane, Aditya, whatever feel like asking, we're more than happy to answer. So it looks like we got one question. It says, when is the best time to start looking for shipping solutions for my Kickstarter campaign?
I can take that. That's a nice question. If you look at Kickstarter or pre-order campaigns, what I would classify as, these are something where your customer acquisition happens before even sometimes a product is defined or a product is manufactured. So, and that's a very critical point because what you are selling at, you are thinking that everything will fit into that cost of your design. Let's say you are estimating a product cost of $10 plus shipping cost of $10, and you're trying to sell at $40 or $35, but it can go haywire very quickly if any of the elements changes, maybe your raw material changes, your packaging changes, your dimension changes, or anything. So the best time for a Kickstarter campaign is to estimate or get a shipping solution, look for a shipping solution. I would not say freeze on it, but look for it is when you have the product design ready. As soon as your product design is ready, your product dimensions are ready, and let's say you are estimating you can start scouting and basically understanding, okay, this is my product dimension, this is my product information, tentative, what is the shipping cost? Okay, yes, okay, a tentative FedEx will cost you $30. A economic carrier will cost you $15. Now you can use those elements and buffer it up a bit to basically build into your cost of product, and that's where you declare it and you run your campaign. So a Kickstarter campaign, when the product design is happening or the product concept is being happening, that's for the first time you should evaluate and get the shipping solution, because that's where you can price it right. Because a lot of campaigns I've seen is a lot of times because they have sold it at a certain value and they have not estimated the peak surcharges or XYZ or whatever it is, it just goes there and it just goes into the pocket of it just makes a hole in the pocket of the founders or the campaign runners. So that's when your product design is ready, that's the first time. Now, once you have launched your campaign and once you have a certain amount of backer, let's say maybe 200, let's say maybe 500, and you are still like near to the campaign end, let's say a month from the campaign end, but you have 200 and you'll say, okay, with this run rate, I may hit up 300 or 400. Go back, reevaluate the shipping cost and the solutions. Now, let's say you have a 5,000 order campaign now. Maybe Express is not the right solution. A B2B2C or a direct injection is a better solution with the similar timelines of plus minus a few days. It is much more economical and much more practical solution to be used. So stage one, when your concept, stage two, when you have certain number of backers. And because when you have backers, then you will have the volume discounts or the volume negotiation. Okay, I have 5,000 backers, this will be the price. I have 1,000 backers, this is the price. So that's where it comes to play.
Yeah, so maybe I think I can add on like from the packaging side. So what we recommend is actually to start looking at shipping solution before you launch the Kickstarter. So about 2 to 3 months. You don't necessarily need to have everything contracted at this point, but you should have a pretty good understanding of what it will cost to package, fulfill, and to ship the products to the markets that you plan to offer. So this is very important because I think with Kickstarter brands, sometimes the people would, the brands, they would price the product first and only figure out the shipping afterwards. And then they realize they run into a lot of problems like international shipping, dimensional weight, duties, or fulfillment fees that are much higher than expected. So I would say that ideally start talking to packaging and fulfillment partners a couple of months before launching. And once the campaign closes, you know your actual volume, you sort of know where your backers are located, then you can finalize the solution. So yeah, that would be our recommendation from Arka.
Okay, great. We have a couple more questions from the attendees too. How long does customized packaging take to procure?
Yes, so for us, once the design and proof are approved, production is typically around 7 to 10 business days. But we do want to caveat that during busy season, like for instance, leading up to Black Friday or Christmas period, it can get exceptionally busy. So it's always good to buffer in extra month and time just so that there wouldn't be any roadblock. So I think the part that can add time as well before production, especially if you're still finalizing your dimension, artwork materials, or requesting for samples, like those are all things that can add more time to the entire process. So again, we would encourage brands to start the conversation earlier than you think you need. Once all of the specifications are locked in, the actual production process can actually move fairly quick. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And then how should a brand sequence conversations from financing, packaging, and fulfillment partners so nothing becomes a bottleneck right before peak season?
Maybe Aditya, you can go first.
I can start. So obviously financing is the early stage understanding. So when you are designing, what is the budget you would require? What is the kind of funding you require? Do you require funding for production? Do you require funding for logistics operation? Do you require funding for any other elements, maybe your operating costs within the company? So again, financing is obviously the early stage component of it, but a lot of times once a brand grows, financing can also come in at mid stage when regular operations are growing. Okay, my operations are growing. This is what my regular financing would require at initial financing and then the regular part of it. Packaging and fulfillment, kind of like as Jane mentioned, can kind of goes hand in hand. And if you're typically asking like for the peak season, Harley, peak season, you need to make both packaging companies or fulfillment companies pre-alerted or pre-informed that okay, this is when your goods will come in. This is when your goods will arrive at the warehouse, and this is the volume you're looking to fulfill on a daily basis to meet your delivery timeline. The more you keep your fulfillment partner informed, that's when there will be no bottlenecks kind of thing, because then it's on the fulfillment partner to make sure the airline capacity is pre-locked, the planning is pre-locked. But if any changes or delays happen from the manufacturing side or anything, you need to keep updated as early as possible. The day you have the notification, you should update your fulfillment partner so that everybody's aligned. Because from a fulfillment partner, there are two components: warehousing capacity on during a peak season and carrier capacity. So carrier capacity is the biggest bottleneck during peak. A lot of times, even if you're using an express or whatever it is, the carrier will hold it for 2 days and not pick it up because they don't have that much belly space in the airline or whatever to carry your parcels. So priority one, financing. Priority two would be packaging and fulfillment together, because both goes in hand. Because if your goods are there, packaging is not there, goods cannot ship. Packaging is there, goods are not there, cannot ship. Goods are there, packaging is there, capacity not there, cannot ship. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with Aditya on this. So funding first, packaging, specs next, and fulfillment, it sort of like just comes together. I think more importantly, you need to get clear on your demand forecast and what markets you are selling into. And then you can bring financing in early so you understand, how much inventory, packaging, and fulfillment you can realistically fund if you don't have that extra cash on hand. And then I think from there, packaging and fulfillment, it needs to be planned together because again, like what Aditya mentioned, it's sort of like a chicken and egg thing. Like your packaging dimensions, it affects shipping costs, and then how efficiently, like the partner can pack the orders. So I think don't treat them as separate decisions and only introducing one partner after the previous step is finished. I think by peak season, that can create like a domino effect. So I would start all three conversations really early and then lock the decisions in the order, which is funding capacity, product and packaging specs, and then fulfillment and shipping setup. Yeah.
And I would agree with you there, Jane. I think it's important to start all three conversations early on because for
Mhm.
our process, you really want to have in place your process of how you're going to accomplish, um, you know, where your goods are coming from, where they're manufactured, how they're getting here, and then obviously how you're going to sell them and make money once they arrive. But in order to do so and ensure that you have that cash on hand or your inventory paid for or that cash flow set up properly, you're going to want to come to us first and make sure, that you get pre-approved and you have the amount and you could pay for, everything involved in the process in order to make sure this goes smoothly and you don't get stuck in a bottleneck or to get stuck at some point in the process because you don't have the cash in hand to do so. So I would say all three conversations are very important to have early on. And then for us, once you have that process in place or that plan in place, let's make sure that you can get approved for the amount to actually execute and move forward there.
Yeah, 100%.
And then there's another question here. Would Kickfurther fund packaging and warehousing costs? So again, going back to earlier, as we were tying this in together, Arka, FloShip, Kickfurther, there are certain scenarios where Kickfurther is going to pay for 100% of the production costs. So that would probably include packaging in a lot of cases. And a lot of times with some of our brands that are, working overseas, it would include shipping costs as well. Now, depending on where they do their warehousing and where they're storing their products, that's going to depend on whether or not we're going to pay for that cost in their production. But again, 100% of production costs of the manufacturing, we're going to pay directly to them. And then if they can include shipping and packaging in there, that can 100% be done on some deals. Any other questions? Okay, I think we can move towards, closing this and wrapping this up. I do want to mention that we are going to be running a series of these events. So really want to thank FloShip and Arka for being our first webinar in the series. This is all going to lead up to a CPGrow event that we're going to be running in March, where emerging brands can participate in a pitch competition, where there'll be some exciting prizes to help grow their business associated with it. So we're going to hope that we're going to have a lot more partners participate, and obviously that you guys will continue to participate. And then I do have if a brand wants delivery ready in the next 90 days, what are the first two or three moves you would recommend for FloShip, Adia?
So if a brand is ready to ship in 90 days, the first piece is send all the specs to the fulfillment partner, get the shipping costs and everything aligned, get your shipping services or in terms of the fulfillment planning. Let's say you have okay, I would divide this into two conversation again. One is basically if you're crowdfunding campaigns, you know the MOQs, you know the volumes, you know already what time the manufacturing the goods will be ready and what time the manufacturer is handing over the goods to you guys. So if you're looking from crowdfunding campaign, as soon as you have the specs ready, you have the MOQ ready, send the PLD, send the customer data, get an accurate quote, get an duties and taxes estimation, get the landed cost estimations, understand the product, get the samples out so that you know the packaging dimensions, everything, get your packaging procured, and then that's where you will be ready for the fulfillment. Now, if I sequence it, once you get your manufacturing timeline, get your package fulfillment cost, get your PLD data with fulfillment cost and because a fulfillment provider like us can even if you don't have the information of packaging, we can run simulations and give you a kind of a data that, okay, hey, these are the 5 types of boxes you should procure, and these are the dimension of those boxes. You can put your design on those boxes and whatever, but we can basically run your pre-orders information and even give you the estimation. This is the most optimized box that can cover all your shipments to date. So basically, that's where you take back the data, go back to the packaging partner, get your packaging procured, and you are already set for fulfillment. You lock in the contracts, and you're all game. And now, if I just change it to the D2C brand, is basically an on-demand brand. Forecast is the mandatory piece. Volumes and the forecast, because that's where peak season comes in or whatever. But if you're just ready to ship a D2C brand, a regular, let's say it's Jan, Feb, March, all good, no problem at all. Goods are ready, just move it to warehouse. We are ready to ship it out.
Amazing. And then for both of you, where can people learn more about your business and get in touch with you guys?
Mm-hmm. So for us, we do have a website where we have the entire catalog, and you would also be able to check out some of the dimensions that we have, the products that we offer, as well as some indicative pricing depending on the volume that you're purchasing. So that would be arka.com. And if any one of you have any questions about, like the packaging, you want to get some like quotes, you can reach out to me at jane@arka.com as well.
For us, same thing. Obviously, website is the core of information. That's the initial. You can reach out to us, any one of us within the whole company on LinkedIn. Most of us are there. You can reach out to our newsletter. Do subscribe to a newsletter, or do subscribe to or follow us on LinkedIn. That will give you a ready rockner for upcoming changes, not only on the compliance side, but also best practices, what we publish on a regular basis. So those are a couple of areas where you can reach out, and obviously any contact, just reach out to our website and just click contact us, and we'll happy to assist.
Awesome. And now, up to you guys. Any sort of promotions, anything you would like to say before we end the webinar?
Yes. So over here at Arka, we have recently launched this packaging audit. So what it does is that simply, like upload your old invoices or your current invoices from your supplier, and our team would actually run a free audit to see if you're overpaying for your packages, and see whether, are we able to come in with a more competitive quote. So if anybody is interested, this is free of charge. No pressure, no obligation. Just reach out to me again at jane@arka.com, and we can get you this free audit going. Yeah,
That's amazing, and I would definitely take advantage of that. And Aditya, anything on your end?
For us, obviously, nothing as offer, but nothing, because everything is customized at our end. We need to understand the brand, product, dimensions, everything before we quote it out. But yes, we are happy to do a pre-audit. Give us the PLD if you're running brand, give us the information, get a quote from our side, look at the information, look at the solutions, what we offers. Like, it's not necessarily you have a direct cross border. You can use bonded, non-bonded kind of combinations to save taxes. You can get like reimburse on your VATs in China. Just because you are using a bonded facility. So there are a lot of other solutions. Once we study your brand, we can we can give you a kind of a solution that is in place which can help your brand grow across, because that's where FloShip comes in play. We help brands go global. That's one of our core, and we are one of as then that's where we are one of the leaders in the cross-border space worldwide.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys again, and looking forward to helping CPG companies grow, and especially internationally as well. And I appreciate you guys participating.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Cory.
Thanks for
It
having
was a
me.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you.